Welcome to Bulldog Talk, a podcast presented by Celina Curriculum.
Well, Adam and Bret, thanks for being on Bulldog Talk. Let's go ahead and get started. Can you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Bret, go ahead.
Sure. My name is Bret Baucher. I'm in my 13th year of teaching at Celina High School. I teach as an intervention specialist, and this will be my first year as the varsity girls head basketball coach.
I'm a third-year history teacher here at Celina, and also my third season as the boys varsity coach. Prior to that, I was over in Walpock for 7 years or so. Kind of lost track.
And by the way, everyone, this is Adam Johns. He took some time to introduce himself here, which is great. So, Bret, you used to coach football here, right? And then you kind of moved over to basketball?
Correct. Yeah, I've done a little bit of everything, and actually did a little digging to actually get the numbers. This will be my 32nd year involved with the Celina basketball program. Going back to when starting as a player in 4th grade Bull Pups, all the way through my senior year, and then came back and participated in open gyms all through college, and then got into coaching. So this will be my 17th year coaching basketball, but also did 7-8 years of football, the middle school boys and girls basketball, and also did golf for a couple years.
So a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, yeah.
Adam, can you share a little bit about?
So not nearly as involved in Celina as Bret. I was a 2007 grad from St. Mary's. From there, I went to Capital University to continue my basketball career. Played 4 years there, graduated in 2011. Had 1 year in between graduating and kind of joining Walpock where I didn't coach basketball. And that was probably the hardest year I think I've had in my life, winter-wise, because I didn't have anything to do other than drive myself crazy. From there, I spent 7 years in Walpock as a freshman JV coach, and then from there, I got the job here 3 years ago.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about, you guys obviously have played basketball and have coached for a number of years. How has your playing career helped you as a coach?
For me, my playing career and things like that, I played football and basketball in high school. So, with the recent football success this year as far as the guys being in the playoffs and things like that, kind of eased some of the football players back into basketball and things like that. Even, during the summer months, I'm trying now to pick 4 or 5 days where we hit basketball pretty hard, but I'm also realistic that these guys are getting pulled to play football, they're pulled to play baseball. So I guess I try to manage all of our schedules as best I possibly can to be functional without, overworking these guys early in the season plus during the summer months.
I'll piggyback off that a little bit. I'm a huge believer in being a multi-sport athlete. As myself, I played 3 sports through high school and kind of jumping from one to another and juggling those schedules. But I think it's super important now as a coach to be very aware of the girls and the boys' schedules and the demands of everything, and try to get all you can get in without overworking them. But I do believe the other sports definitely bring confidence and different muscle groups that help make that multi-sport athlete successful, though.
Right, it sounds like there's been a lot of success in Celina sports, whether it's the bowling team, cross country, track, the football team. How does the success of those other programs help out your guys' programs?
Bret kind of alluded to it, confidence. I mean, the more you're in a competitive environment, the more comfortable you are, I think, in tough situations. I mean, whether it's, standing at the foul line, you're up 2 with 2 shots to ice the game, essentially end it. You're standing there, you're pretty comfortable. Whether you're in the batter's box, bases loaded, 2 outs, you're down 1-2 in the count. Well, you're standing in there, you're comfortable in that environment, comfortable in that setting. The pressure doesn't get to you, I think, being a multi-sport athlete and things like that.
Yeah, we kind of always have a saying that we've talked about throughout the different sports is, the big thing is getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And the more situations you can experience through the different sports, and the only way you can do that is just by playing. And so building that confidence, I know through the volleyball team had a great year this year, and we're leaning on a couple of those girls that came over from volleyball to basketball to how can you bring that same energy and that same togetherness to apply here and help increase our culture.
That's good. You guys talked a little bit about culture in some of your answers so far. Can you tell us a little bit more and share maybe with the audience just some key parts of the culture that you guys have in your programs?
I'll gladly tell you I'm not the smartest guy to ever coach basketball. Plenty of people smarter than me, but Dean Smith, I think, said it best. 3 things that I kind of believe in. We're going to play hard. That's our effort, obviously, but biggest thing with the effort is remaining positive throughout that. I mean, over the course of a basketball game, there's all kinds of negative moments. And the unfortunate thing with basketball, and I think Bret can probably agree, is there's no downtime in between a bad play and a good play. Like, if you make a bad play, you better get back in transition. If you turn it over, you got a second, maybe 2 seconds if it's a dead ball to clear your mind and, okay, now we're on defense. So make sure we're in the right defense, make sure we're matched up. It's quick. So you got to get, one of the things we focus on is trying to get the kids to move on from mistakes. The second part, playing smart. We want to push the ball in transition and things like that. We want to get the ball down the floor. We want to take good shots. We need to value the basketball each time we're down the floor. And again, the togetherness aspect, I think, each season kind of presents its own challenges of bringing guys together. Some of these guys, some of the potential varsity players we have this year haven't played basketball in a couple of years because of injuries, where they just started to pick the game up, those types of things. So it's trying to get these guys together, to play together, throughout 3-4 months. The early season can be a little bit clunky trying to get those 3 aspects together.
I totally agree. Our culture is based on controlling what you can control, and that's what we ask every day. And for us, we kind of highlight attitude, effort, and discipline. So are you bringing a great attitude every day? That's your choice. You get to choose that. Are you bringing great effort? Are you bringing the energy that you need every day to get better? Again, that's your choice. And then the discipline of doing the little things correct. Can we go back to our base fundamentals and do those little things? And the more little things that we can do, then the further we can progress along. But that whole next play mentality that Adam was alluding to there, basketball it's a fast-paced game, and there's no time to blame, complain, or make excuses. You just got to move on to the next play. And how fast can we transition from offense to defense and defense back to offense? So.
Sounds like you guys are offering a lot of life skills, a lot of things that our kids can use after high school, or even in the lives they're living right now. How can they persevere? How can they keep going? How can they overcome any challenges that are coming their way? So those sounds like some nice teachable moments you guys are giving the students. So cool. Let's move on to this season a little bit here. Talk to us a little bit about what we can kind of expect, or some things that you're seeing.
I can get started. We actually open up tomorrow at Coldwater, so it's upon us, and we've had I think a very productive preseason. It's a unique situation. There's been a lot of turnover in the girls program here recently, so trying to, in our first year, get our core values set and our fundamentals of what we want to do offensively and defensively. And the girls have been fantastic. They've been so much fun to work with and had great attitudes and bring a good effort every day. And we're going to lean on our 5 seniors that we have returning to help lead us with their experience and leadership, and just going to kind of attack each opportunity we have with some purpose, and just want to be a little better today than we were yesterday.
So it sounds like there's some transition in the girls program, with some different coaches over the past number of years. Is there anything that you've done to kind of make that transition smoother, easier on the girls, easier on yourself?
I like to think so. Part of it being kind of looking ahead several years ago, and then having a couple of daughters in the program has made that transition a little easier. So the current freshmen, I started coaching and working with them when they were in 3rd grade, and kind of been with them straight through, coached 2 years in middle school with them. So that gave me a year with the sophomores, gave me a year with the current freshmen, or current 8th graders, and then also with my youngest daughter being in 7th grade, worked with the younger girls there. So I've had experience with all of them leading up until, with the exception of the senior class. But they've bought in pretty much from day one and have been great, and fortunate enough to be able to carry over a couple of coaches from the previous staff that had some good relationships with them too, that has been extremely positive.
So some continuity. The girls know what to expect. They've had some work with you, so yeah. That seems like that's something I should be able to help out. So anything with you, Adam?
We haven't had any major coaching staff changes or anything like that, so the consistency's there. So, you know, when we got all the football players and all the other fall athletes, you know, we kind of just picked up with where we have been in the past. You know, my first couple of years spent hammering those 3 kind of core values and, you know, what we're going to be defensively, what we're going to be offensively. Now we're going to have to change just a little bit, you know, offensively and things like that. We graduated 5 seniors last year, 5 lettermen, and 4 out of those 5 played multiple years. 2 of them, Quinn Andrew and Josh Razorbeer, played, you know, they were 3-year varsity lettermen, and then Connor Altstetter, Connor was in that group too. I kind of leave him out. He had knee surgery his junior year, but you know, he's been part of a basketball program since his sophomore year, and then Dylan Feaster graduated. He played 2 years. So we graduated quite a bit of experience. We have 3 lettermen coming back. All 3 of them had, you know, successful football season. You know, Braylon and Caleb Gabus, and then Landon Ackley, you know, had all kinds of football accolades and things like that. So hopefully that confidence, you know, kind of spills over into basketball a little bit. We're going to lean on those guys kind of early and often. You know, we've had a pretty productive, you know, scrimmage schedule and things like that throughout the early part of the season. Kind of work on defining some roles and things like that before we open up, you know, this coming Saturday against Versailles. And I mean, there's going to be ebbs and flows, good and bad nights, you know, for us over a 22-game season and things like that. But, you know, come February, we want to make sure we're headed in the right direction. We're, you know, peaking, so to say, as we head into the tournament schedule.
Right. So it sounds like, you know, there's a little bit of experience. You know, 5 seniors coming here. You got some kids coming up through the pipeline there that are going to help out. What are you guys most excited about with this season coming up?
I mean, every year's different for me. It's kind of like, you know, the journey, the process of it. You know, I didn't do the exact math quite like Bret, but basketball's been a part of me, I think, for over 20 years of my life. And personally, whether I'm playing, coaching, whatever, I haven't had a repeat experience. So, you know, guys in the locker room are different. You know, coaches can be a little bit different and things like that. So you're never, I don't think, going to have the same experience consecutive years. You know, guys mature, they get older, they get stronger, you know, they work on their game. So it comes and goes. I mean, you just kind of go along for the ride and, you know, navigate the ship, so to speak.
Oh, I totally agree. It's all about the process. It's the grind. I mean, it's the reason why we do this. We love it. And then the relationships we get to create along the way with the players and the different coaching staff, and just how everything just kind of comes together. I always kind of say, I mean, I've been involved with basketball for a long time. I don't know how to survive an Ohio winter without having the schedule of basketball to keep me sane. And, you know, I can't think of a better place than to be in the gym with 23 high-quality people that hopefully you get to make a difference on a daily basis.
You guys talked about the grind, the process. How do you get our young students to embrace that? How do you get them to trust the process, and how do you get them to handle boring, or, you know, the being able to just, you know, all the repetition of things?
It's difficult. I think you got to be creative in your practice schedules and your routines. Of you want to get all those fundamental reps in, but you got to change up the drills and do things a different way. And I always kind of say we got to kind of trick them into to make them have fun, but while still doing those fundamental skills that we're trying to develop. Maybe they realize it, maybe they don't. You know.
It's similar, I guess, working in the classroom, working with the students of, you're doing this, working on the same tasks, coming about it with a different way, a different focus, and so forth. So can you guys remind our audience here about your coaching staffs? Tell us who's on them, the experience they have, and so forth.
Selfishly, I think I've got one of the better ones in the state as far as like years of experience. My varsity assistants are Doug Smith and Scott Mater, with Bret Dorston being the JV coach and Doug Stalley kind of serving as his assistant. And then we've got, I think, the most experienced volunteer coach in the state of Ohio, and Mike Caney. He's been doing this a very long time, much longer than I've been alive. Kyle White coaches the freshman, Alex Schiavone coaches the 8th grade, and then I got Caleb Hoying and Curtis Williams to fill out the 7th grade staff. So really in all this, I think I'm the only one on here that is not a Celina alum by any means, so it's kind of unique the way our staff is structured with, me being from St. Mary's and things like that, but I got plenty of Celina blood on staff.
And we also only have one person on our staff that's not from Celina as well. I'll start the opposite way. We'll start at the bottom. Not at the bottom, but at the lower grades, which Adam and I have both coached middle school sports in the past, and I think we'll both be big believers in it is so important to have a great middle school staff because they're the ones that set the foundation and teach a lot of those fundamentals and those skills that we get to help elaborate on when they get to us. So that's super important. This year for the 7th grade, we have Dale Mormon and Joe Hoyne are doing our 7th grade. Kind of joked around. I said we needed to replace some people there as I moved up, and I said we needed some experience, so we had to go out and find some gray hairs. So we've got a couple older guys that have both had daughters go through the program, some of the biggest lady basketball supporters that we could find, and we're on the same page with things. So super excited about those two helping us out this year at 7th grade. 8th grade, we have Natalie Drum. She's our one outsider. Recently hired as a 4th grade teacher here at Celina. She's absolutely fantastic. She's in her 3rd year, and she has helped coach at the middle school with Coach Ramel and I the last 2 years, and she's fantastic and hope she's around for a really long time. And then up at the high school, Chuck Ramel is an assistant coach, and he has helped coach with me at the middle school and the lower levels before, so there's a lot of consistency there between the two of us. And then we retained Dan Dirksen is doing JV, and then Gina, I always want to say Everman, she's recently married, Gina Stockler. She is our, she's the one that gets everything done behind the scenes. She's our director of basketball operations is what I like to call her, but she'll be helping as well, and she's been with the program for the last 5 or 6 years as well. So.
You guys have talked about your staffs and how in your work with them. You guys are the two head coaches for the boys and the girls programs. Talk a little bit about how you guys work together and how you guys manage to share all the resources here, but also work together to help with our students.
Well, it's a daily thing, and I think if I wasn't the head girls coach and if Adam wasn't the head boys coach, we'd probably be on each other's staff one way or the other. Close friends, and we talk every single day, whether it's about it was getting the schedules together and what are you doing, what are we doing, how are we going to work with the gym time and getting through all the equipment and sharing all that. But every day after a scrimmage, we're on the phone talking to each other and asking each other for ideas and just that outside perspective. So we work very close together, and I think very well. So it's a huge resource. It really is.
No, and that, Bret's kind of asked me through the preseason and things like that, all the different things you don't know about when you actually get involved in this. You got to go to so many district meetings, you've got to, get everything lined up, but schedules and things like that. Bret mentioned earlier, you try to keep practice, try to keep the kids engaged, try to have that perfect practice all the time. You bounce ideas off of each other and things like that to try and figure out, okay, what do you do to make sure this period is still productive? What are you doing in this situation? And how can I tweak that or make it fit to what we're trying to do, offensively or something like that. Just another sounding board, and I do the same thing with everybody on staff. Last night I was sending them texts. Any major ideas that we need to hammer, today at practice, heading into the week, since this is the first kind of week of preparation for a game and things like that. So it's constant communication, not only with Bret, but then everybody on my staff as well.
Yeah, ongoing communication, ongoing relationships with the players, with the other coaches. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? So let's talk a little bit more here, just about some coaching thing. What advice would you give to some young coaches looking to either move up the ranks or just to try coaching out?
Make sure your wife's okay with it, first and foremost. That's probably the most important person you need to have on your side when you're doing this is going to be your wife. I've got a great one. She totally gets it. She was with me that one winter where I didn't have basketball, so she totally understands where I'm at. She, so to say, holds down the fort and things like that until I get home. from practice, or, since we kind of tweaked the practice schedule, I can help her out after school from time to time. Which kids do I need to go get? What other errands do you need ran before I head to practice or something like that? Another piece of advice, you get into this position, stay involved with the younger kids, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. Just kind of wrapped up our fundamental bullpup stuff yesterday. Summer camps and things like that. Had pretty consistent, turnouts with kids and things like that. So then you gradually see their evolution over the course of basketball and things like that. The other one, kind of get yourself organized. That's one thing. When I went through the interview process and things like that, I kind of came up with a monthly checklist almost. Okay, through late July, early parts of August, I'm planning our fall schedule. Then in the fall, Bret and I got together, we planned, the winter schedule. Then as the winter schedule starts to die down, okay, banquet, things like that, got a little time in there, but then I planned spring schedule, summer schedule at the exact same time. So it's constant, manipulating schedules and things like that, looking at things, and then with all that, with kind of those three, that helps me keep a good life balance, things like that.
It's different. I mean, having coached for a long time and through football, and then also in my varsity basketball experience there, as being the assistant coach, you get the best of everything, because all you have to worry about is making relationships with the kids and coaching that prospective sport. Once you kind of graduate to the head coach job, you get so many more administrative duties, and just there's a lot more that falls on your plate there. But advice would be patient, don't rush into those. It's not all it's cracked up to be at the top. I think there's definitely that process that you have to go through to get a good understanding of what does the lower programs look like, how much that affects you, and you should start off with some experience down there. But then also being flexible. You've got to be willing to do anything and everything to get through it. And I'll totally second Adam's comments there about having a supportive wife, spouse, because they're in it too. I mean, they're absolutely, they gotta do everything that you're not doing at home, and so that's a very huge thing. And I think that's the hardest thing, as I've seen now some of our younger coaches that have gotten involved with. They love it, but does your wife love it? Because it totally affects them too, and I think it's an eye-opening experience for a lot of them. But that becomes tough. The really neat thing I think that we have as coaching overall, though, it really is like a fraternity. So Adam and I can rely on each other here, and having worked with everybody in his staff, I could go to anybody in his staff at any time if I need anything. And then there's so many area coaches that you get to know through playing against each other and the different clinics and everything, that everyone's out there that's willing to help and give advice and share their experience and knowledge. All you gotta do is ask. So there's a lot of resources.
It seems like there's a lot of different little families at different levels, whether it's your own coaching staff, working together within the school community, and then your bigger communities outside. So it seems like those are always places you guys can turn to get support, get some fresh ideas, and to kind of keep things going. Let's switch gears here and move on to some quick questions here. Just answers, no explanation. We'll go through this. Let's start with you, Bret, and we can go back and forth here. Favorite sports teams?
North Carolina Tar Heels.
Anything Ohio minus the Browns.
Anything Ohio minus the Browns. Best or worst advice you've ever received?
Doesn't matter, get better.
Show up and do the work.
Show up and do the work. Favorite coach?
Tom Izzo.
Jay Wright.
Okay. And what do you enjoy most about being a head coach so far?
The camaraderie.
The relationships.
Relationships and camaraderie. And what do you like most about working with young people or our students here at Celina?
Watching them grow. Yeah.
Same thing, growth from year to year.
Growth from year to year. All right, let's a couple more questions here, and then we'll end our podcast. Anything additional that you guys are working on outside of coaching, outside of teaching?
The one thing both of us have tried to tackle for next season is potentially bringing back the holiday tournament here to Celina. Kind of like a tournament showcase. It's still kind of in the works, but that's the big talking point we've had with area coaches and ADs and things like that, trying to figure that out.
Yeah, that's been kind of a number one focus. Having played in it as a player and coached in it as well, like not having that holiday tournament, I think it's a big loss to the Celina basketball programs and the community itself. So we'd like to bring that back. And for the girls, we know we still host the Visco Classic as it is now, but we'd like to kind of expand and come together and maybe have something where it's a showcase of, the boys and girls both play together on the same nights, or, there's a lot of ideas going out there, but something we're trying to tackle, and Mr. Wenning has been receptive to it, and so he's kind of working with us and kind of got a little committee together and try to bring that back to Celina.
Bring back some traditional things and maybe have some fresh ideas to go along with that, to be too. So anything that you'd like to talk about that we didn't cover?
Well, politely no, because it's basketball season. It's primary focus, but biggest thing, the other kind of piece of advice, I guess to new coaches or anything like that, anybody that gets involved, separate yourself from it. Don't let it consume you and things like that. There's 2-3 hour period when I get home that I'm still dad, helping a 5-year-old with his preschool homework. 2-year-old wants to do this. Maybe I got to put the youngest one to sleep, whatever it might be, or it's just a revolving door. The basketball stuff can wait till they go to sleep, or just wake up earlier and get it done before they're awake. Whatever it might be, just separate yourself.
I would second that, and I'm just thankful my kids are older. So we're in a little different situation there with a 7th grader and 9th grader, but again, unique situation that both my daughters are part of the program, and that's been beneficial. That's taken some burden off my wife, not having to run quite as much with the practice schedule, because they're either with me or one's walking to our practices and back and forth there. But definitely having that separation. The very first year when Brooke was a 7th grader, I talked to the girls and as a team and said, I'm not dad here. I'm coach. And she will call me coach, and that's the way we operate. But once we get back in the car afterwards, you become dad again and try to have that separation of roles there. And, at the dinner table, try not to talk about basketball and talk about school and life and everything else that's going on. But it's definitely some life balance that you need there. Just one thing I can add that we did as a football staff is we started the wives started a book club. So on Sunday evenings, we would kind of rotate between each other's houses, and then we made it a family thing. So instead of coming into the CAP building here to watch film and game plan for the week, we would do it at one of the coaches' houses. The wives would talk about their book they're having, the kids would get together and play, and then we'd have a big family coaches dinner every night. And that's something we've continued to do even after I've transitioned from football to basketball. We still met last night and kind of did that. So that's a fun tradition that we have started that has combined, the family aspect with the coaching aspect, and try to keep everybody involved and everybody happy. So
maintaining that work-life balance is huge, and ultimately lets you guys be dads, but also lets you guys step into some other roles on the court and do some things that you're really passionate about outside of your work with your family. So thanks for sharing those extra things. Let's close here with a Bulldog Bark, a chance where you can offer some praise or a shout out to some people in the community.
Well, we kind of already talked about it, but again, I feel like I've got one of the best coaching staffs in the area. My 7th grade coaches, Caleb and Curtis, 8th grade with Alex, Kyle is a freshman, and then everybody that helps out at the varsity level with Doug Smith, Doug Stolley, Scott Mater, Mike Caney, and Brett Dorston.
It's got to be the coaching staff. I mean, they do so much that goes unheard or unseen. Other than Natalie, all of my coaches work full-time jobs somewhere else, so they're sacrificing time at work and redoing their schedules to make sure they can make it to all the practice and all the games. So definitely the coaching staff does a big thing, and then there's just so many people that go and make the program better, from people doing the announcing, and the parents are in the concession stands and doing the 50-50. And I guess Rob Lupke is another person I got to give a big shout out to, that he does all of our concession stand stuff and just takes a huge load off of a lot of people. And I'm very thankful. The parent club, the people that run the checkbook and do all that stuff. There's just so much that goes out there. So.
Adam, Bret, thanks for appearing on Bulldog Talk and sharing with our school community all the great things you're doing with our kids. So thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.